for 2 minutes. So I will be reading a thing on my phone. See? I don't know if you can see it, but it's on my phone. There it is. I'm going to read to you for 2 minutes. And this is the part where Bilbo has his 111th birthday, I believe it is. His 121st birthday, as they call it. So, I will read to you now. One morning, the hobbits woke to find the large field south of Bilbo's front door covered with ropes and poles for tents and pavilions. A special entrance was cut into the bank leading to the road, and wide steps and a large white gate were built there. 3 hobbit families of Bagshot Row adjoining the field were intensely interested and generally envied. Old Graffer McGamgie stopped even pretending to work in his garden. The tents began to go up. There was a especially large pavilion, so big that the tree that grew in the field was right inside it. It stood proudly near the end, at one head of the chief table. The lanterns were hung on all of its branches. Most promising still, to the hobbit's mind, an enormous open-air kitchen that erected in the north corner of the field. A draught of cooks from every inn and eating house for miles around arrived with supplements. The dwarves and other odd folk were quartered at Bag End. Excitement rose to its height. Then the weather clouded over. That was the Wednesday of the eve of the party. Anxiety was intense. Then Thursday, September the 22nd, actually dawned. The sun was up, the clouds vanished, flags were unfurled, and the fun began. Bilbo's Baggins called it a party, but it was really a variation of entertainment. It was a variety of entertainments rolled into one. Particularly, everyone living near was invited. A few were overlooked by accident, but they all turned up the same. That did not matter. Many people from other parts of the Shire were also asked, and there were even a few from outside the borders. Bilbo met the guests and additions at the new White Gate in person. He gave away presents to all, and the latter were... I cannot read this word, I'm sorry. I'm going to skip that. Hobbits give presents to other people on their birthdays. Not very expensive ones as a rule, but not so lavish as on the occasion. But it was not a bad system. Actually, in Hobbiton and Bywater, every day of the year it was someone's birthday, so that every hobbit in those parts had a fair chance of getting at least one present at least once a week, but they never got tired of them. On this occasion, the presents were unusually good. The hobbit children were so excited that for a while they almost forgot about eating. They were toys like they had never seen before, all beautiful and some obviously magical. Many of them had indeed been ordered from a year before, and had come all the way from the mountain and from Dale, were of real dwarf make. Alright, so that is it. That is my reading. I know it's a little longer than it's supposed to be, but yay. Oh. Okay, in my reading, I know it wasn't the best example to show my author's intent of writing the book, or his message throughout it, so I'm just going to say it. My author had a lot of interest in languages when he was younger and through his adult years. So in order to use it in a way that he could make money, or in a way at all, he created the Lord of the Rings series so that he could use all of his languages that he made up, like the Elvish language. I think the dwarves have a language. I haven't quite read the second book, so I don't know. But he created the Lord of the Rings series, or it is said that he did, so that he could use his languages and use his love of languages in something productive. So, I'm going to read a little passage. Okay. Lord of the Rings, written in early 1900s by J.R.R. Tolkien, is one book that is still challenged today by numerous groups. Communities across America are banning books in the in the genre of Lord of the Rings for their fantasy ideas and sacrilegious beliefs. There's one problem with that theory, though. Religion is rarely mentioned in Lord of the Rings, nor do they have any discussions on creation or God or any other idols for that matter. They don't mention God or have any sort of religious thing once. They don't pray, they don't sacrifice anything, they just don't. I think it's silly because these people are trying to say that it has satanic ideas for witchcraft and evil, but there's nothing in it other than Saruman, which is the eye, and obviously the main evil point in the book. But I have 2 points on this. It's not the community's place to ban the books. If parents want to shelter their kids, it's fine. It's a free country. You have the freedom of speech, and you don't have to submit your kids to its satanic ideas or sacrilegious beliefs. If you don't want your children or your family to read the book, it's fine. It's your choice, but you don't have to punish the people who actually want to read a good book. So, yeah. Don't punish people. If you don't want to read it, fine. But just don't punish people who do. Alright, this last little bit is going to be over the history of my banned book. Let me find it real quick. Alright. According to a National Health Service anti-smoking group in Plymouth, England, children should be banned from watching films like Lord of the Rings because they feature people smoking. I think this is really silly, to be honest, because the only time they show them smoking is in like a 2-minute scene towards the beginning. Research shows that children are more likely to start smoking if they have been exposed to certain images, including people smoking on television and in films. People like Russ Moody from the Foundation say that this is not about being a busybody. This is about protecting young people from harm, and the aim is to stop children from watching otherwise enjoyable films, but to put pressure on filmmakers not to include any smoking scenes. But that is not the real reason why it got banned. The most popular reason to ban this book is because people find it irreligious. I don't know. I'm not quite sure if that's a word. I'm sorry. Most people find this rather shocking because Tolkien was a devoted Catholic and a longtime friend of the Christian fantasy author C.S. Lewis. I believe he writes he wrote Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. He even wrote a letter to Lewis that the creation of the Lord of the Rings was fundamentally religious and a Christian work, unconsciously so at first, but consciously in the revision. I looked through, and there are several pages with quite noticeable Christian themes and different things. Like in some of the poems and songs he wrote, there are Christian things, words and things. Yes, words. Hang on. Nevertheless, it has been banned in Christian schools and homes as being anti-Christian and generally anti-religious. One of the most recent ones of banning the book was in Alamogordo, New Mexico in 2001. A group claimed the books were satanic and promoting witchcraft, and they set a bunch of the books on fire outside the community church. This might be a shock for some people, but New Mexico does have a rather dark history with regards to its views in witchcraft. I did some research, and in 1877, 5 people were burned alive for suspicion of practicing the religion, and there are some reports of a New Mexico woman being burned at the stake as recently as 1931. There are definitely elements that Christians can find in the movies, says Robert Stewart, an assistant professor in philosophy and theology at New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. These themes in symbolism remain constant with the Christian message. Not everyone will get the symbolism, but it's still prevalent through the films. This is one of the main religious symbolisms, proving that it's not satanic. Frodo is chosen as the only one capable of carrying the ring. It's similar to the Chronicles of Moses and the Pharaoh or David and Goliath. Many feel that Tolkien is showing how God uses ordinary people to accomplish his will. So, the ring, the central image, has symbolism as it demonstrates the power given by God. But yes, that is the history of my band book.